poster! Yes, I got back from Techo yesterday. It was a fun time. I bought a flower. I gotta water it all the time though now, so it sucks. It especially sucks because I gotta water it with fire. Alright, you ever try to water something with fire? It's sort of counterintuitive, but I got a bunch of new posters, so we'll be waiting to use those. I'm kind of mad, though, because I did a few Marineford videos this past week, and I didn't have that thing, but I do now, so we're good. And in fact, actually, this is a really interesting thing to look at, okay? If you follow this poster here, it actually reveals the hierarchy of powers in One Piece. It's very clearly stated that Shanks was in command of Ace the entire time, Hancock controlled Shanks, Moria controlled Hancock, Mihawk controlled Moria, and Jinbei was in charge of everybody. And Kuma is the same deal over here. So Kuma ruled over Blackbeard, Doflamingo, Whitebeard, and Luffy, alright? So the two characters we gotta be paying attention to the most are Jinbei and Kuma, alright? So after we figure out what those characters are up to, then all the mysteries of One Piece will be revealed. Alright, so what else is it? What am I doing today? Oh yeah, I'm doing VIVRE card shit. Yeah, okay, VIVRE card number 8. Decreed by the Emperor. Artor-sama. This is an actual picture of Artor right here, so thanks to him again for the translations. They are amazing. This time we are covering Punk Hazard and Skypiea. Are you ready for awesome new hot news on Enel? Guess what? We're not getting it. It's unfortunate. We got, like, a little bit of stuff on Eneru, but nothing, like, new information on, like, the future of his character or anything like that, like, where he's at right now or anything. But, hey, we did get some other cool stuff, so let's go into it here. We're gonna start off with Punk Hazard characters, so, of course, we're gonna start off with the star of the Punk Hazard arc, really. Caesar Clown, right? So, Caesar, here's the thing. The first main point about Caesar is that, about his devil fruit, okay? The Gasu Gasu no Mi. And we always kind of assume this. Like, it depends on the individual that gets the devil fruit powers on how, you know, adept they're gonna be at using it. Like, somebody that trains with their devil fruit a lot, obviously is going to get better at it over time, like Luffy. Luffy didn't really understand the complexities of rubber or elasticity, you know, before he ate the Gamu Gamu no Mi. With Luffy, it's more of just, like, trial and error. Plus, he's had his powers for 12 years, so that's a lot of time to try to figure out exactly how your body moves with that kind of power, right? But obviously, if somebody were to eat the Gamu Gamu no Mi that had better knowledge of, like, okay, this is how rubber actually works, then you would probably be able to get the leg up on stuff. You might come to the conclusion of Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd and Gear 4th much earlier than Luffy. So that's kind of the same thing with the Gasu Gasu no Mi. It's a Logia, and it states that Caesar is pretty much like the best person to consume that fruit because as a scientist, as a chemist, he knows all about like different gases and substances and chemicals and everything, so he can really utilize that fruit to the fullest. Kind of the same deal with the Appi Appi no Mi. If somebody without medical knowledge consumes the Appi Appi no Mi, yeah, they might be able to trial and error, like figure out exactly how things work as a surgery human. You know, like, oh, I can use a scalpel and move things around, but Law, being a surgeon, he can take full advantage of everything with that. You know, because he knows where all your critical arteries are and everything, and he can just, like, grab you and just pop out an organ. Like, if you don't have an intimate knowledge of anatomy, then, you know, you can still use that fruit for crazy effects. I'm imagining somebody without medical knowledge eating the Appi Appi no Mi and just randomly figuring out all the wacky shit you can do with it. Like, one day they're just screwing around with their fruit, like, holy shit, I can summon electricity! You know, but Law, that's probably one of the first things he thought of, you know, as being raised by a doctor and growing up, you know, with that disease and everything being all around, like, medical textbooks and everything. I'm imagining, you know, within the first few months or year or so after consuming the Appi Appi no Mi, Law was thinking, like, okay, well, in an operating room, you have defibrillators. Maybe I can use a defibrillator. Oh, shit, I can. All right. There's radiation knives and stuff. Maybe I can, okay, I can do that, too. So, yeah, it really comes down to the kind of devil fruit you're eating, sure, but also, you know, your knowledge of that, you know, that type when you're consuming it. Knowledge of gases is just going to make the gas fruit even stronger, right? So, he worked with Vegapunk and Judge. I know for, it was obviously stated he worked with Vegapunk, and it was also stated that Judge worked with Vegapunk, but I don't think we ever really saw, like, a flashback scene of all three of them working together. Maybe we did see that at one point. During Whole Cake Island, Judge and Caesar were aware of each other's existence, which makes sense in the timeline. I'm just thinking back to maybe, like, one flashback scene we never got to see. I'm thinking back to, like, flashbacks at Punk Hazard. I don't think we saw, like, because I think Judge might have left Vegapunk's group at that point, because that was only 4 years ago when Vegapunk and Caesar were working together on Punk Hazard, and then that giant accident that occurred that was totally Vegapunk and Caesar's fault. That, I think Judge left long before that. But yeah, we might very well get a flashback to that point. We might get a flashback to three of the greatest scientists of the world government, and it's Judge, Caesar, and Vegapunk all working together on projects, and maybe that's how they got their start. Maybe they went to science college together. There's science college in One Piece, right? Yeah, he was, okay, get this. Big shocker about Caesar's character designs, okay? He was designed to look like a clown. Yep, no, but not just any clown, a period clown, which are very, very sad clowns. They're the sad kind of clown. Remember that episode of Powerpuff Girls? Weird reference, I know, but I love the Powerpuff Girls. Remember that episode of the Powerpuff Girls where you have Mr. Mime, not Mr. Mime, the mime from Pokemon, the mime from, this thing, whatever the hell. Oh god, it's still terrifying to this day. But yeah, that kind of reminds me of that. Also, that really sad Cyanide and Happiness short, La Comédie, that was also one that was really... This is the saddest clown in existence right there, right? But yeah, he was designed after clowns. Makes sense. He's Caesar Clown. Okay. So I'm curious about what happened in his past, though, to lead him down that line, though, because that's a little weird, just like one day did he just wake up like he's a scientist and did he just go mad with science and he's like, well, I'm a mad scientist now, so I need to have some sort of design to make myself seem rather eccentric and insane. So all the good designs are taken. The Joker design is already taken. I guess I'm just going to, paint my face and just do this period clown thing, and I'll just make that my shtick from now on. I'm like, all right. Legally changed his name to Caesar Clown. All right. So next we have Monet, and Monet, pretty awesome. Although her original design was not as sensual as this, no. Her original design was basically a centaur, which made sense considering all the other, like, followers of Caesar, like Brownbeard, which, by the way, we get his real name here, and okay, whatever. But Brownbeard and all of the servants at Punk Hazard, they were swapped out with, like, animal bodies with Law, and so that's why they were all centaurs, and so it would make sense that Monet would also be a centaur, like the boss of all of them, right? But that design was scrapped in favor of a sexy, busty harpy, which I'm fine with that. I feel like Oda has to maybe meet a quota for each arc. Like, every arc, there has to be a new, hot, female character introduced in some way. Of course, Punk Hazard, we have Monet. Fishman Island, we had Shirahoshi. We had Viola and Rebecca in Dressrosa. That was a long arc, so we needed two of them. Then we have Carrot and Wanda in Zoe, Komurasaki or Hiyori in Wano. So there's like a quota. So maybe Oda was going through his character designs in Punk Hazard, and he was like, man, I have an intro. Okay, we have to change this one character around. So we find out a few things about Monet. She was picked up by Doflamingo 13 years ago. So she would have been 17 years old at the time, and she also has her younger sister Sugar with her at this point as well. We don't really know much about her past, like where they grew up, but, they were probably not, living a very happy existence. Most of the past of the Doflamingo family usually revolves around them living in poverty or just being, made to suffer by the world government. That's why Doflamingo, would recruit them into his family, like, hey, you were screwed over by the world government? I was screwed over by the world government. Come on, come with me, join my family. So at this point, when Monet was 17 years old, Sugar was only 9. Now remember, Sugar consumed the Hobby no Mi and at age 10, so she's forever biologically age 10. And it was also stated at this time, Monet consumed her fruit as well. So I'm figuring, Doflamingo found them wherever shitty part of the world they were hanging out in, come to my fold, and then like a year later, when Sugar would have been 10 and Monet would have been 18, that's when they got their hands on the Yuki no Mi and the Hobby no Mi. I like to think they consume their fruits at the same time, and so that's how she got her powers, and Sugar got the ability of eternal youth, and to turn people into toys, and to make contracts with those people so they can't do anything against her will. Oh, and also to erase memories. Yeah, the Hobby Hobby Nomi is pretty fucking broken, if I have to say so myself. But anyway, also, it goes into a little bit of detail about her fruit. Just like, it's a very dangerous Logia, because if you fight her and you don't have any protection against the cold, or if you don't have Haki or anything, or if you're not Zoro, basically, it's just getting caught in a blizzard. And Monet really, I mean, when she was fighting against Tashigi and Zoro, she was like an enclosed space, like the Biscuits room, right? And she had her wings, and she was going all Yuki Onna, like Snow Woman with the giant mouth, like, I'm gonna devour you! And there's a blizzard in the entire room. But honestly, this fruit would work really well with just hit-and-run tactics, especially in an enclosed environment like that. I mean, if you have observation Haki, you could tell where she is, but if you don't have that, you could basically just be wandering and get caught in a blizzard, and no matter where you move, you're never going to get out of the blizzard, because she can turn into snow. So she can literally turn into snow and just keep this giant dome of just blizzard out, around you at all times. Eventually, your body temperature would drop. You'd start to not be able to think too well. You'd start to get hazy. You'd start to get frostbite and hypothermia, and you'd just pass out and die. So, I mean, once again, if you have observation, you'd know instantly where she was. But if you didn't, you'd be screwed, And so Monet, I mean, she was fighting against Tashigi and Zoro, who both had observation. So maybe that's why she had to go a little bit more direct with it, and she also maybe didn't have time until their bodies got worn down from the snow and from the blizzard. She had to make sure to end them as fast as possible. But yeah, pretty devastating fruit. And the thing is, it's not confirmed she's dead, but it does state, like, yeah, she was stabbed in the heart by Caesar, which, okay, I mean, like, I think she's dead. I think that was pretty definitive that she was dead. But what happened to her fruit? Because that's a big question. You could always say kind of the same thing would happen with Smiley. He had the axolotl fruit, he exploded, and then the fruit got reincarnated in that apple, but then that immediately got covered up by the Shinokuni, the petrification gas, and so no one's probably ever going to find that again. If they do find it, it'd be a miracle, right? Something maybe similar could have happened with the Yuki no Mi. Monet could have died, and, well, I think she definitely did die, and then the fruit reincarnated. People have been saying that it might have reincarnated on the Mikan trees on the Sunny, because those were the nearest fruits, but you don't know. Maybe the nearest fruit, maybe there was a kitchen on Punk Hazard, which there pretty much had to be, and it got reincarnated in one of those fruits in the kitchen, and then the petrification gas took over, and then it's just a wrecked facility, especially since After Law destroyed it. So it's possible we might never get to see the Yuki no Mi again, but my personal preference would be it got on the Mikan trees, they just haven't noticed yet, and then Carrot ends up getting it, and she becomes a snow bunny. So, I would like that. Alright, so what else about Monet? Blah, blah, blah. I don't think... Oh, she didn't have a bounty, and this also goes along with Virgo. Now, it made sense for Virgo, because he was an undercover Marine for a lot of his life. So, okay, made sense why he wouldn't have a bounty. But Monet must have also just stayed under the radar for as long as she did. Maybe she's one of the more shadowy executives in the Doflamingo family, so the government really didn't know about her too much, working undercover with Virgo, and then Caesar. Caesar had a bounty because he escaped capture, like, on a government ship. Like, he was on the government payroll, they arrested him, and then he got away. So they were fully aware of Caesar's existence, but Monet is sort of just like a shadowy character. But, yeah, she's dead now, so that sucks. Yeah, she's very farsighted, so that's why she had to wear the big giant nerd glasses, which I still think she looks cute even with them, so that was nice. But yeah, that's Monet. Going on to Virgo, okay, so we get a lot of shit involving Virgo's, like, timeline, okay? So Virgo and Doflamingo are the same age, okay? They are both 41 years old right now. They were 39 before the time skip, okay? So, when he was the first Corazon, he was, like, young. He was, like, 10 years old, the same as Doflamingo. So, he had that position up until 17 years ago. So, at that point, he would have been 24. So, he held the position of Corazon from 10 years old all the way up till 24. At that time, he passed it over to Roshinate, who became the second Corazon, okay, who was Doflamingo's brother. Then, 1 year after that, when he was 25 years old, same age as me, he left the family to begin his deep cover operation. A year after that, when he was 26 years old, he enlisted in the Marines, so there was probably some build up to that. He had to go away for a year and maybe figure out his plan and everything. I mean, I don't know, he couldn't just hop from the Doflamingo family to the Marines after a day, you know, so it took a year for him to build up that stuff, you know. I could even imagine, because this is like a long game sort of thing that they were planning here. I mean, like, Doflamingo probably was like, oh man, having an in-man in the Marines would be insanely useful. So Virgo might have, honestly, he might have left the family and then spent that year living as a regular civilian. Like, that was step one. Step one was just, all right, I'm going to leave the family, you know, make up a whole backstory for myself, where I came from, where I'm going, travel the Grand Line, find just a regular island, live on that island for a year as just a normal civilian, befriend the townspeople, just become like a well-known kind of guy, and then after a year passes, at that point, go and join the Marines, because you don't have to worry about, maybe there'll be a background check, but maybe it'll be like, oh yeah, that guy, you know, he's lived here for a year, and we love him, he's such a nice guy, and be like, oh yeah, let him join the Marines. That depends on how far back they check the background, but hey, I mean, if Virgo and Dofi were planning this for a long time, which is they most assuredly were, I mean, I'm sure they thought about all these things. So he joined the Marines at age 26. And then a year after that, at age 27, is when he was able to enlist in G5. He requested the transfer, okay? So I'm not exactly sure how that went down. I don't know what his rank was when he decided to transfer to G5, or if they just let anybody transfer, because I can't imagine if you were like seaman recruit, you know, the first rank of the Marines, you'd get to decide on anything on where you get stationed, okay? But maybe after, you know, because look at what Kobe, you know, after 1 year, after 2 years in the Marines, he's already a captain. So in the One Piece world, this tends to speed up depending on your skill. So he might have already achieved like lieutenant rank after a year and been like, okay, yeah, you get to transfer wherever you want, and he chose G5, which is in the New World, right? Yeah, like Monet, his fate isn't specified, but it mentions that he was caught in an explosion of punk hazard. I think Virgo and Monet are dead. It's just Monet is more interesting because she had a devil fruit. Virgo didn't. Although he was rather ripped. I will give it to Virgo. He works out. He's like, I work out. I'm Virgo. It also has a little bit mention here about his armament Haki. He had rather impressive armament Haki, except for the fact he got sliced in half by Law. See, Virgo started off a trend where it was like, you never go full armament Haki, because everybody that goes full armament Haki in this series, like Pika and Virgo, immediately get taken down, usually in one hit. You know, like Law slices Virgo in half and then dices him up into little pieces and then tacks him to the side of a railing, and then, you know, Pika goes full armament and Zoro just slices him down in one hit. So after a while, you just start to like, maybe this full armament thing isn't such a great technique, right? We talk about the Marine branch G5 itself, just like all the people that were there, and just, you know, like a general idea here. Smoker was the leader of the first unit. He is now the leader of the entire base because Virgo was, you know, defeated, killed by Law. And then there's 6 squads in G5, and we've only seen 2. We saw Smoker's squad, Unit 1, which was Smoker, Tashigi, and all the G5 Marines we see at Punk Hazard, and then Unit 6 was led by Yaresugi. And Yaresugi was this dude. He's a Commodore, bit of an asshole, actually a huge asshole. He was the one that, like, the townsfolk would come to him and be like, our children are missing, please, can you search for them? And he'd be like, get the hell out of my sight. Are you saying we can't do our job? We looked for your kids and they're dead. It's like, yeah, but they were playing in the backyard, and then all of a sudden you said they died at sea. It just seems a little bit... That's what happened, so get out of my sight! You know, I'm the Marine, and I told you what happened, you know? It happens all the time, really. 1 second, children are playing Foursquare, the next they're getting eaten by sharks. Seen it all the time, you know? So, yeah, the parents were a little bit, like, you know, upset about that and the whole G5 base, right? But, of course, Virgo was in on the whole thing, so, I mean, he might have told Yaresugi, like, oh yeah, they died at sea, you know, it was like, whatever, it was confirmed, and Yaresugi just got mad at the townsfolk, but still, rather unbecoming of a Marine, you know what I mean? Oh, next we get the Yeti Cool Brothers, who are the coolest characters in all of Punk Hazard, really. I love you, Caesar, I love you, Monet, Virgo is for me, but I like the Yeti Cool Brothers, okay? So, I made a video a few weeks back about Punk Hazard for Geography is Everything, and I mentioned the Yeti Cool Brothers, and I was thinking, like, okay, they're like abominable snowmen that just exist, And I'm like, maybe they were experiments that Caesar was screwing around with, because Caesar was messing around with the gigantification, and he has this lab, and he's a mad scientist, and he's a sad clown, and all of a sudden you have these Yetis out of nowhere. I'm like, all right, well, maybe he experimented on them, and that's what they were, failures in the gigantification experiment or whatever. It doesn't turn out to be the case. It actually turns out that they are an unknown subspecies of giant. I'm just going to call them the Yetis, you know, okay? And here's the thing that really shocked me, okay? They are taller than oars. And it's funny, even Artur puts in here like a caveat, like, they are taller than oars. Yes, I am not kidding about this. I was shocked as well. Oars was 40 meters, Oars Jr. was 39 meters. Both Rock and Scotch, they're twins, they were born the same day, they're the same height, they have the same bounty, and they are 42.5 meters tall. So, the heights in One Piece are going like crazy, right? It's just like characters you never thought were that big. Because you look back at Oars and you're like, man, Oars was this huge giant. I mean, granted, Oars was probably a lot heavier because he was like rather round, you know, he had a pot belly. But, you know, Rock and Scotch are much more lankier, kind of like monkeys. And that makes sense because their original design was supposed to be more like Yetis, but more like monkey Yetis, like gorilla kind of Yetis. One of which actually had a bow tie and a cane, like kind of like Magilla Gorilla. So honestly, I think that would have been way neater if we saw the Yeti Cool Brothers not as these, like, lanky, you know, giants with some fur on them and their, like, faces obscured, but, like, these giant, like, King Kong apes wearing fancy monkey attire. Like, ooh, come on, brother, let's go capture the Straw Hats. Like, that would be cool, right? You know, just for an aesthetic design, but their current designs are neat as well. We also got what their faces looked like a while ago in something called The Dive to Grand World. Never saw this, but just in case you were like me and you missed this part, this is what Rock and Scotch's face actually look like. Now, Rock, I believe, is the one that has the gas mask on. No, Scotch is the one that has the gas mask, so we never see his face. But considering they're twins and they have the same exact height and the same exact bounty and everything else, I'm imagining they both look exactly the same. So Rock's face looks like an Easter Island head statue. Fun fact, is one of the places I actually want to visit. I want to go to that island and see those statues. I know at the end of the day they're just rocks, but they look cool, and I want to go see those damn statues. But yeah, like the Moe statues from Easter Island. So that's pretty cool. That's what their faces look like. They're always obscured in silhouette. Even Scotch, who's wearing the gas mask, we never get to see even his gas mask. They're like, the tops of their faces are always in silhouette, whatever scene they're in. So whatever. But yeah, they were pretty cool. My favorite part of this, though, is their favorite foods, because every VIVRE card we find out the character's favorite foods. I never mention it because it's usually not relevant. It's just an interesting little, you know, trivia fact. But you want to guess what Scotch and Rock's favorite foods are? Okay. Well, Rock's favorite food isn't even really a food, it's whiskey. Do you get it? Do you get the joke? Scotch's favorite food is, well, Scotch. That's kind of obvious, you know, but also eggs. Do you get it? I'll take a whiskey on the rocks, and I'll take a Scotch egg. Damn it, Oda! You are a mad genius! I'm done. It's over. It's done. Boo! I can teleport. Okay, so that's everything on the Yeti Cool Brothers. They also, by the way, have that rare blood type that Sanji has, the SRH negative blood type, the same thing that he had. You know, so... Okay, I don't know if blood types are ever going to play a role in One Piece again. It was like really only Fishman Island that played any sort of significant factors, so maybe later on. But I think we covered most of the arcs involving the Fishmen and everything, so who knows, maybe. So Brownbeard, his real name is Chadros Higales. Chadros, so just call him Chad, I guess, for short. No, it's a combination, because Chiro in Japanese means brown. So brown beard, Chiro, Chadros. Okay, fine. He is monstrously tall. He is 6.91 meters of height. Also, Buffalo is also really tall. Buffalo, of all people. By the way, both Brownbeard and the Yeti Cool Brothers and Buffalo as well, probably all taller than Kaido. So, yeah, that's a thing. But yeah, Buffalo is 6.96, Brownbeard is 6.91, so he is slightly taller than Brownbeard, but still, yeah, his characters you never thought were as big. I mean, you had a pretty good idea Buffalo was a big guy, because you see him in the air, and, Baby Five's on his back, and she's relatively the, regular height of a regular adult woman, so, he's like this huge guy, and so it makes sense, but damn. So that's pretty much everything for Brownbeard. Next, we get the dragon! Not that dragon, this dragon. This is actually dragon number 13. That's its actual name. And it was actually given that name by the celestial dragons themselves. So, I made a video about this talking about how the world government seems to have this obsession with dragons. It was mentioned in a magazine article a while back. And you start thinking, like, their symbol is the hoof of the celestial dragons. So maybe at one point, way back during the Void Century, the world government, the nobles, had dragons. Like, riding around on dragons, and that's why the whole world feared them, because they could just nuke their islands from, the sky if they really pissed them off. But yeah, the Game of Thrones idea is the dragons slowly, like, inbred, and they, got to the point where they were just these sickly beings, and they just ended up dying off. Maybe something similar happened in the One Piece world, right? But the world nobles are really obsessed with dragons to kind of probably reclaim their lost glory, so they got Vegapunk, like, hey, Vegapunk, could you maybe, make us a dragon or two, like something like that. And so Vegapunk, I guess, worked at it for 13 different experiments until he finally got one that worked. 12 experiments until he got to the 13th. This dragon, which was rather impressive as a dragon, until Zoro decapitated the poor thing, so that sucks. But then we had another dragon, a green one, which came after the 13th dragon. I'm assuming dragon specimens 1 through 12, they were failures. Like, they didn't even make it to, like, maybe they made it to, like, the embryo stage or, like, the baby stage, and then they just croaked. They didn't get far enough. This was the first dragon to become a fully grown, actual, something that you could look at and you see immediately, that's a damn dragon, alright? That's a Kaido right there. As for the green dragon, call it dragon number 14 or 15, I don't know, but it was a lot more ferocious than the first dragon was, and I don't know what happened to the green one. I think the green one still survived. Not sure. But yeah, that's dragon number 13. Baby 5 and Buffalo. Yeah, they both have really shitty backstories. Now, we already kind of got a little bit of Baby 5's backstories. She grew up in a place called Kuin Village, derived from Kuinai, which means can't eat. So, it's a village awash in poverty, and what happened with her, of course, that's actually one of the more sadder, One Piece backstories. I mean, I know we get a lot of really sad ones, but Baby 5's is, she's a little girl, and then her mother just takes her out into a, forest, abandons her, and keeps saying, like, you're useless, you're never gonna be any good for anybody. Her mother might have probably had, she either had some maybe mental disorder, or the poverty and the hunger maybe drove her to madness or something, so that's the way she treated her own daughter. And then because of that, even after getting taken in by Doflamingo, she developed this complex where she has to seem useful to everybody she encounters, regardless of the person, regardless if she knows them or if they're a stranger or an enemy, or what the request is. Like, some random street rat off the out of the gutter could just come up to her and be like, marry me, Baby 5, and she's like, oh, you need me, okay. And so, yeah, that's messed up, and of course right now she's married to Sai, so everything seems to be going good there. But yeah, Baby 5's backstory, pretty depressing, but I think Buffalo's is actually worse. Strap in for this, kids. Alright, Buffalo's backstory. Alright, so he grew up on an island that was run by the world government, but as you know, not every island run by the world government has the same government body itself. I mean, some of them are more of a monarchy, like Alabasta or Dressrosa, ruled by a king or queen. Some of them seem to be more like a democracy, like Water 7 is under the world government, and yet they elect like a mayor to rule over their city. So, yeah, it seems like, the world government, like, lets them, you can choose your own government system if it wants to be a monarchy, an oligarchy, or a democracy, or a republic, whatever you want to do, fine, just keep in mind that the world government's the one that calls the shots. So you can play around in your own backyard, whatever you want to do, however you want to make your laws. But when the world government tells you to do something, you gotta do it. When we tell you to pay your taxes in your heavenly tribute, you gotta do it, alright? So, the island that Buffalo grew up in was ruled over by the world government, but it happened to be a cruel, oppressive dictatorship. So oppressive, by the way, that they basically told the citizens, yeah, if you're short on money this month, just how about abandoning your kids in the sewers? That way you get to save money. I'm imagining, like, that's horrible. I'm imagining, like, this is some freaky 1984 dystopian future where Buffalo grew up, right? And where, like, Big Brother gets on the television screen every morning and they're like, citizens of our great and glorious nation, I know it might be tough sometimes having enough money to eat. So here are some government-recommended solutions to this problem. Eat less. That way, you won't waste as much food. Steal other people's food. Abandon your children in the sewer. That way, you don't have to feed them. Seems like a good solution, right? It's kind of like like a very extreme example of, I don't know if the Chinese government still does this, but in China, you know, it's like that, like, one child per family policy. So it's like, because China already has a lot of problems with overpopulation, they're the most populated country. So it's like each family can only have one kid. And so a lot of times, that's why if they have a girl, they'll actually, you know, put them up for adoption because boys are preferable in China. I'm not sure if they still do this practice though, but I have heard about this, right? So take that to like an extreme example, like not even putting a limit on having kids. This government's apparently like, oh no, have kids, but then just abandon them. I'm like, so there's like, in the land Buffalo grew up, and I don't think we get a name of his island. No, we don't get a name of his island or his kingdom, but there's the sewer where, imagine like all of the kids just live there and just grow up in the sewers of this land, just living off of the refuse of the upper realm. They become like the Chuds or something, like these cannibalized human underground dwellers, or just like, you ever watch Venture Brothers, that episode of Venture Brothers where Rusty falls down underneath the compound, and they're those, you know, those they used to be kids, but they grew up into adults and they've just been living down there their entire lives. Basically like that, you know? So, I don't know how the hell Doflamingo found him in those conditions, but he did, and he brought him back to Spider Miles in the north. Now, keep in mind, Spider Miles, not much better than a sewer. It's a giant landfill, and it's filled with, like, smoke and smog and everything. It's just a refuse heap, but it's at least better than the country he lived in. Compared to that, it was a paradise. So, if a trash heap is a paradise, you can pretty much figure the situation that Buffalo had to live in, and a lot of other kids there, too. And that country might still be like that. That seems like a country the revolutionaries should be busting up pretty soon. Maybe they did already, but those are the backstories with Bebe 5 and Buffalo. Next, we get some hot news on Kinemon and Momonosuke. By the way, Momonosuke, he is a short little runt. He's like 3 feet 7 inches or something like that. Ridiculously small. Now, granted, he's 8 years old, and I don't remember how tall I was when I was 8. I don't think... I remember being like that old, and 4 feet in the swimming pool, I couldn't go into that area, so I might have been as short. Momonosuke is probably about... When he's 25, he might be my height as well. Like a good 5'5.5". Short kind of kid. So we get a little bit about Kinemon, but nothing crazy. We find out it's confirmed that his devil fruit is the Fuku no Mi, or the clothing fruit, but we already pretty much knew that. Nothing really else about Kinemon. He's a confirmed observation and armament Haki user. Okay, now, Momo. Voice of all things. So this is probably the biggest piece of info we get out of the entire VIVRE card here. Okay, so he can use observation, and it sounds like he can use the voice of all things. However, it might be further developed than Luffy's is, because here was the problem I always had with this. Luffy and Momo could both hear Zunisha's voice on Zo, right? Okay, fair enough. But Momo could talk back and actually communicate with Zunisha. Luffy could only hear it. And he even says this. Like, that's actually like a word verbatim line. Luffy says, all I can do is hear. You know, all I can do is hear. I can't say it. You can't understand what I say, right? So I always assumed that, okay, maybe what Momo has is a special, like, connection because he's a Kozuki to Zunisha. Alright, it's something different than the voices of all things, but because Luffy has the voices of all things, he can still overhear the conversation. Here, it seems to imply that it's all tying back to the voice of all things. It's just that Momo's skill is better than Luffy's, so he can communicate. it's also implied later because we get Isa's, the little girl at Skypiea, that could, she had observation as well, the mantra. It's also implied that, like, the voice of all things is just the apex of observation. Okay, and in a situation maybe with like Roger and Luffy, because there's so many parallels between Roger and Luffy, maybe it's a skill that they can unlock eventually, but they didn't get it from birth. From Momo and Isa's perspective, it really does seem like they had the voice of all things as soon as they were born. Okay? And Luffy did as well, but it's just, it's a little bit different. Because, yeah, he was able to, like Momo was able to speak to Zunisha, Luffy wasn't. So, yeah, I mean, it's probably, I like to think that Luffy might get to the point eventually where he can have a conversation with these things, like, because remember back when Roger was under the ocean, Roger could hear the voices of the Sea Kings. Roger spoke back to them, they didn't respond. But later on, when we see the Sea Kings and Fishman Island arc, it's like, oh no, they remember Roger. They could, hear Roger's voice. They just chose not to respond. So I think eventually Luffy might get it to that point. If it really is just like, it's observation Haki, it's just like the highest level of observation that most people are never going to unlock. But I could see Luffy unlocking it. But there also might be certain lineages, certain family lines that are just predisposed to having this skill. Isa makes sense, she was a Shandorian, and we also find out connections to Shandoria and Wano here, and also Momo is a Kozuki. So, yeah, that makes sense why they might just be genetically born with that ability to hear and speak back, and they can understand, like, both ways, right? So, yeah, for right now, I'm going to be putting the voice of all things in that top-level observation department. If that's the situation with observation, maybe there's a type of armament Haki that goes beyond the vulcanization, goes beyond that, like, shockwave Haki, and there's a kind of Haki that even Rayleigh couldn't master. Woo! Because Rayleigh couldn't hear the voices of all things. Rayleigh is an observation Haki master, and he still couldn't hear the voices that Roger was hearing. So that's what I say. It's probably related to observation, but it's like Conquerors. It's like, only a few people are predisposed to have it. Maybe with this ability, it's like even more limited than that. Because even Rayleigh had Conquerors, but he couldn't hear the Sea Kings or anything. So, yeah, but there definitely does seem to be a direct connection between observation Haki and this voices stuff. So, yeah, it's still back to the mystery with that. Also, originally, Momo was supposed to be afraid of heights. I don't know where that would have fit into the story. I'm kind of glad Oda didn't include that, though, because that seemed like something that might just bog down the story after a while. I was like, I'm afraid of heights. Like, okay. We get on to Isa here. Isa, of course, being the little Shandorian girl, and she was actually originally supposed to be a teenage boy. And I can kind of see that. I can kind of see the teenage boy, going back to another Game of Thrones reference, like a Bran Stark kind of character. Like she's really adept at observation, so she could see everything going around her. Kind of like Bran, he's like, I'm just sitting here in one spot, and just like imagine Isa as this teenage boy sitting in a hutch, just like, I can sense the life force of everyone in the sky. I could see it, but I'm not really sure why Oda decided to change it to a little girl, but either way, I think it would work just fine. Mantra was originally supposed to be called Tazuna, which uses the kanji for reins. Mantra's literal translation in the kanji is mind rope. So you could see where Oda was going out with that, what the original basis for that was. Yeah, given her advanced form of observation, she was able to hear the voices of everyone from all over the island. Yeah. So that's pretty much everything with Isa. Now, moving on to the Shandorian warriors. So we talk about Wiper first. By the way, just before we get into that, Wiper was a badass. It's been a long time since we've seen Wiper, but let's not forget how much of a badass Wiper was. Showing up, smoking a cigarette, burn bazooka. That guy was awesome, all right? And I want to see him again. But anyway, yeah, Wiper. So we're talking about his Sea Prism Stone skates. This was a little weird because they're living in the sky. There's no sea prism in the sky. It was stated that when the water of the ocean on the blue sea evaporates, because sea stone exists, there's that chemical pyrobrine, which evaporates, and that creates the consistency of sea cloud. But unless the knock-up stream shoots up a deposit of sea prism, it's not going to naturally exist in the sky, and yet Wiper has it. So, I think this is mostly Artor's theory, but I go along with this 100% because this makes a lot of sense. because the Shandorian city, remember, the Shandorians started on the moon, and then the Skypians and the Brickens ended up in the sky. The Shandians ended up on the blue sea. They founded Jaya. They started the Shandorian city, and then the city fell. But at some point during the Void Century, which I think the city fell right after the Void Century ended, you know, but it existed long before that. It existed like 1100 years ago. They were entrusted with a poneglyph, and we know the Kozuki clan created the poneglyph. So right there's a connection between Wano and Shandoria, or Shandora. The Golden City. You know, Kozukis, maybe they were friends of the Shandians, and they got to know them, and they gave them that, you know, the poneglyph back when the city was thriving, and then the city fell into ruin, but of course the poneglyph, you know, can survive, you know, undetermined amount of time, it can't be broken, and then the city got shot into the sky, so the poneglyph ended up in the sky, so it was really, really random, how this poneglyph traveled, but it eventually ended up in the sky, and it was also stated here, the true purpose of the poneglyph was to lead Gold D. Roger to his destination. Now, I don't think they were... I mean, who knows? They might have had somebody back in the past that could see into the future, Toki no Mi, or have some clairvoyance like, I see into the future that a man with an epic mustache will find the One Piece. Might have been something like that. Or it could have just been like, we need to keep these poneglyphs in these locations, so somebody, they didn't know it was going to be Roger specifically, but somebody was eventually going to find them. But seemingly from this statement, it's like, no, they fortune told that Roger was going to exist at some point and he was going to find it, and it's very important that he did. So, and of course he did, so that's good. So it followed the plan. I'm just saying, it's a little weird. Yeah, some connection to Wano and Shandoria there. Let's see, Kalgara is revealed to be a user of observation. Okay, let's see, blah, blah, blah. You know, there's just some stuff about Kalgara and Nolan's relationship. Like, if Nolan didn't save the island back when he did, then Wiper would have never been born. So that's cool, that the whole existence is predicated on Nolan and Kalgara's friendship, essentially. Which that backstory is one of the best ones in One Piece as well. Yeah, there's a little bit of things about Rocky, you know, because, you know, but not too many things. Okay, so now moving on to the priests. Now, we don't find out too much about the priests. Less than I expected, so that's kind of disappointing. So first, talking about Eneru, he also has like top-level observation, but it's a little bit different. He doesn't have the ability to hear the voices of all things. His observation is so high-spec because he already had observation, but then he got a devil fruit, the Goro Goro no Mi, that just amplified it. Sort of like radar is the example they use in the chapter. Also think of it as just like a radio tower, you know? So he has observation, but he can use his electricity to like supercharge it so he can hear anything that anybody's saying about him in the entire sky, and like, you know, dozens of miles around him. He can hear what's going on at any given time with his mantra and his Goro Goro no Mi. So that's why his observation is better, not because he can hear the voices or anything. It's not the same as Ice's. So moving on now to what he saw in the sky. It talks about how he stumbled upon that mural that depicts the city of Bricka, which was the name of the city on the moon, which was also the name of his homeland. But then all the VIVRE card says is, oh, how are these two connected? Oh, damn it, I forgot to include... That sucks. I was going to keep that here the entire time instead of this fire flower. But yeah, I forgot to do it. Yeah, I got the VIVRE card. This is the first, this is the first pack. But I finally got them in the mail. So, yeah, that was cool. I was going to use that for this video, but I just kind of forgot. But oh well, the fire flower's cool too. Get that up here. We're almost done now at this point. Yeah, it's not going to work. Okay. So, yeah, that's all we get. It's like, what's the connection between the two? I'm like, I don't know, but I would like if you told us. You know, that's all we got. Having amassed an army of soldiers on the moon, he prepares to make his next move. What could it mean? Eneru's coming back at some point. I think that's guaranteed that that's going to happen. I don't think he's just, no, I'm just going to stay up here on the moon with my automata army and just chill. Feeling cute, might invade Earth later, might not, I don't know, I'm Eneru, bitch, do what I want. You know, so that's basically with Eneru there. He attacks anything he sees, he's a cold-blooded killer. Yeah, we already saw that when he fought against the freaking, it's like, hey, there are space pirates, aliens exist, whatever, I'm gonna shock them, you know, with 1.21 gigawatts. Satori, we know Satori, Hatori, and Katori are all twins. We could figure that. They were born the same day. Well, they're triplets. And they can all use Mantra, fine. And as for the other members of the priests. I mean, we don't really find out anything about Shura or Geratsu, really, outside of just, like, their favorite foods and stuff. Like, I think Ohm's favorite food is, like, sky shark jerky. It's all sky shark and sky fish delicacies, because, of course, they live in the sky. But we do get to see Ohm without his glasses on, so that's something. And that's pretty much everything we got. The next pack, we're going to be getting some Frankie action, Super, as well as some Doflamingo family stuff, which we already got a lot of the Doflamingo family. We got Baby Fide, we got Virgo, we got Monet and Buffalo and everybody. But we still have, like, Lao G and Gladys and everybody to find out about Jola. So there's a lot more characters to talk about during the Dressrosa pack coming out next month. Yeah, and we also get some Paramount War EX extra characters. Those aren't going to be a lot of characters. Those will be just some background characters, probably just like 1 or 2 lines of information on them, but still cool to have. And we'll get some Alabasta EX characters as well. So, yeah, that'll be cool. We get some Foxy info as well, but, you know, at that point, right? So anyway, thanks to Artor for the translation once again. Thanks you guys for watching. What was your favorite piece of information we found out in this VIVRE card dump? I mean, the voice of all things is obviously probably the main focus here, but I'm actually really interested in just learning more about Monet and the character designs and the Yeti Cool Brothers. I'm probably the only person to ever give as much of a shit about the Yeti Cool Brothers, but I really like those guys, alright? So, we don't know actually what happened to them either, because I think Rock got smacked in the face by a giant rock by Chopper, who was Frankie at the time, and just BAM! And just got his ass knocked out. And then Scotch was the one that got sliced in half by Law, and then, like, counter-shocked, and just... And then that's the end of Scotch. So, I don't think they're dead, though. I mean, they probably, honestly, if they were just outside in the cold, they probably got covered with the Shinokuni, which, you know, but that's not an instant death unless they broke out of it somehow. So, they're probably dead. But, I mean, who knows? They might pop up. They might be... You can't see it behind Jinbei and Kuma. They're hiding them, but maybe Rock and Scotch are behind those two as the main masterminds behind everything. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. I actually got some new wall scrolls for Hunter x Hunter and My Hero as well, so I'll be doing some My Hero discussions coming up this week as well, so get ready for that. Thanks for watching. Techig, signing out.